So last week we did a random generator to pick our film, and we all picked 2 films each, threw it into this random generator, and my choice came out, and I chose the a bit of an 80s forgotten, not so much of a gem, but let's just say an 80s forgotten movie that I don't know if everyone on this podcast had seen before. I'd only ever seen it once before, and it was a recommendation from my ex-brother-in-law, who was my brother-in-law at the time. He may have had it on VHS. I don't know how I would have had access to it, but anyway, I saw it, and I remember at the time I quite enjoyed this film, and we'll get into my thoughts on the movie in a moment, or as the podcast goes on. But I think this is going to be an interesting podcast because
go
on, buddy.
Sorry, I thought you keep going.
No, I was going to ask you, and why do you think Ryan recommended it to you?
I think back in the day, this probably would have been seen as a good, gritty 80s movie. It's got 80s spunked all over it. It's like 100% like an 80s underdog / sort of I don't even know how to explain it. It's got so many aspects to this movie. Plus it's got Rob Lowe. Plus it's got Patrick Swayze. Yes, it's got a Keanu Reeves in it, but he wasn't known or anything at this stage. And it's got Ed, what's his name, the coach? Ed Lowry or something like that his name is?
Ed Lauter.
And anyway, I recognized him straight away because he's one of the coppers in Raw Deal.
And he's in Uncle Buck.
Is he? Who's he in Uncle Buck?
The guy with the tough pick, isn't he?
Oh,
no, Hal. No,
I thought he was the guy with the tough pick.
No, that's not him.
I thought he was like a weird, like he probably had a little bit part in that as the guy. I haven't seen Uncle Buck in a while though, but no, that's where I thought he was from.
Anyway, right, I'm going to shut up for a bit because I'm interested to know your thoughts on this movie. I've got a funny feeling it's going to get slated, but I do genuinely believe, as I said on text yesterday, there's a decent movie somewhere in there. Somewhere. I don't know where, but it's there somewhere.
Can I bring up a controversy before we get into our film thing? I just want to say, but to our viewers, right, I'm just going to give a bit of behind the scenes. Before this podcast tonight, me and Evan have had a bit of a spat. I just want to say, I'm sorry for going full throttle on you in that message group then. I might have scared Evan a little bit, and I think he ran to that. I think he ran to the phone, pinching the back of his knickers, really telling his lovely wife to come home. But I was only messing around. It was lost in translation. So we're
gonna have to give a bit of context here. There's due to family commitments, aka my wife and my firstborn going out food shopping at this time. There was a bit of a let's just say there was a slight possibility that we'd have to delay, and Adam was really offended, and I just felt really bad.
Joke offended, but I think it just I could just Evan read it and went quiet, and I was like, oh shit, he's worried there. But it's no bad blood here.
The issue we have, right, is I'm sure Prog is in my camp here, but we got 2 guys who are having this conversation who may be a little bit sensitive, and they're always fearful of hurting other people.
It's all love from me to you, Ad. All love from me to you.
And then me and Prog often, don't give a
my camera's doing this thing again. I'm just going to try. I moved back last time, and it seemed to go better. I'll try it out. If it keeps this, I'll just hit the background off. But having camera prop off.
Well, the sun's come out, doesn't it? And you tan easily. That's what it is, Ad.
He's tanned so much we can't see him.
I know.
Prog, do you remember when we went to Magaluf for 17-year-olds and we had a group photograph? And within the group photograph, I'm on like one of the far sides. Let's say it's the far right. And I'm like so dark skinned in it that it looks like, I'm a different race. But
the
Go on, sorry.
The best thing about that photo is that you're on one side and you had the best tan, and then it went to the worst tan on the other side where Isaac's was basically still white.
Well, I think actually it might have been our mate Ben, who is
Ben. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
let's just say he's strawberry blonde anyway. So there's not much color to him, but it's all an optical illusion because I was in the shade. I generally do not tan like that and come out.
I was in the shade, Your Honour.
Yeah, coming out looking like bloody, I don't know, what's his name?
Was it like one?
I gotta be careful what I say, you know.
I think that's fixed. I think my camera's fixed now. We'll try it out.
Yes, no one cares.
The viewers
Was
care.
it like one of those? Was it like one of those spectrum little?
Yeah, it was
like color spectrum things. So it just goes from dark to like shades of light.
Yeah, it was
like
going. It went from like
it was a pH level for skin color.
Yeah. Albino through to, I don't know, someone on the other side.
I would just say bronze, Dad.
Yeah. Anyway, come on. Who had seen this film before?
Never even heard of it. I'd never even heard of this film before.
Oh, I'm so glad I chose it. I was a little bit reluctant. I wanted to do this film for a while, but I'm mindful of doing films that a lot of people have seen before because people have told me that they sometimes don't listen to the podcast if it's a film they don't know. But I thought this was ripe for the podcast because there's so many discussion points in it.
Well, I think I'm willing to bet money. If you ask Rob Lowe, have you ever seen Youngblood? He would go, I don't think so, no.
Well,
I think it's that unknown.
I did my research on this today, and I've been watching a couple of videos, and he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was talking about his career and everything, and he mentions Youngblood, and he mentions working with Patrick Swayze, and I'm pretty sure that Joe Rogan didn't have a clue what Youngblood was, and every time Rob Lowe mentioned it, Joe Rogan sort of skirted over it slightly, or he got it mixed up with other films. So it's an interesting one, this.
Well, so obviously you're the only one with any sort of like first memories of it, really, because my first memory was today. That's when I watched it, and yeah,
I must have had it on VHS because it was. If it was a recommendation to me, someone must have given it to me because it wouldn't have been like something you would have gone to the video shop for. I probably saw this around about 12 or 13. And I got a funny feeling I borrowed it on VHS, probably roughly about the same time as I borrowed The Hitcher, Rutger Hauer movie. So
the only other film I've seen by this director is Flight 93. That's it.
Well, I've seen this director, didn't he also write it or have a big hand in the writing it? And I got a funny feeling if he's not a ex-hockey player at that level, he is a massive hockey fan because that's why it's written.
He is an ex-hockey player. I read into it earlier.
Yeah, he by what I know of it as well, is it's heavily influenced by his experiences. Or his knowledge, but you've just verified that. And also, some of the things that happen are things that he's witnessed. Things like Patrick Swayze, him hitting his head on the ice actually happened to someone, but that person actually died. And in my mind, I thought that injury to Patrick Swayze was worse. The fact that you see him, I don't know, a few scenes on, and he's in the locker room. But I thought he had, I don't know, he was like crippled from it, or like
like you thought he was going to turn up to the game for cricket bat or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or he wouldn't been able to walk or like whatever. And then Evan Prog, I'm assuming. Have you heard of it before?
No,
I'd heard of it, and I'd seen the front cover, but I think you always get, correct us if I'm wrong, but this came out around about the same time as Slapshot. I don't
know, what was this, 86, I think it was?
Yeah.
Isn't Slapshot baseball?
No, it's ice hockey. It's Paul Newman and
Alright.
I've never seen it, but yeah. But I was gonna ask, and did Ryan recommend it because you look a little bit like Rob Lowe? Like
Oh,
like
yeah, here we go. Where's this?
No, I got a little bit when he's front facing on. If you had big hair, there's a little bit of Andrew Owen in there.
Yeah,
In Dean Youngblood there.
Well, I have had big hair. We've had this discussion previously, actually.
But I've never seen it though, so I can't.
Well, I got a minute now. Ev, were you actually watching the film?
I will say though,
not in the face. In the face,
he's on about the body. I think. No, that sex scene. He's thinking, "Oh, that body's a bit like."
When you were in when he comes out the locker room in just his pants,
in his jock strap.
That's your first encounter with Rachel, isn't it? That's how you did.
But I was naked. I got no shame. So we got a mate, right? Who's Adam, not Adam on the call, but another Adam. And probably about a year or two ago, when Face App or whatever it's called came out. Is that the name of the app?
Yeah, I remember.
Where you put your face on other things. Anyway, right? It came apparent that Adam's face you could put on anyone more or less, and he became known as, within our group of friends, Face Slut. Because basically you could put his face on anything and it works. So Ev, you were sort of like implying that I might be almost overtaking Adam at some point. The fact that I'm now being referred to as compared to Rob
I don't know.
Lowe.
I mean, let's count the faces. So you've got Ryan Gosling. You know,
I'll name a few. And Prog will jump in as well. Ryan Gosling, Novak Djokovic, Joe Cole. Well, there was another one the other day which was 100% left field from Prague.
Sly,
I just googled Novak Djokovic then. I didn't know. I have no idea who that person is until this moment. But yeah, this is Tennis Andrew.
One of the guys I used to run with said I look like Lloyd Williams. Used to play for Cardiff Blues, or maybe he still does play for Cardiff Blues.
I think it is in most cases. I think it's your hair.
Maybe.
Depending on how you have your hair.
Whether I'm in my Hey Arnold phase or not.
Because Joe Cole and Novak Djokovic, it's the shape of the face, but it's also the hairline. It absolutely is.
It's funny, right? Ryan Gosling, I can see that at times, and then other times I don't think it at all. I think it's just like because I got little small features, like massive head, little features.
He says that with such modesty, doesn't he? I can see Ryan Gosling in my face.
I know you've got.
I bet you've got that scorpion.
La Land.
I reckon you've got that scorpion jacket in the house, in the cupboard, and
I gloves on when I drive. Everything. I listen to what's the song from it? Working Class Hero or Real Class Hero. Whatever
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah. Listen to that all the time.
He often drives Rachel and his kids somewhere, and he'll just stop wherever he wants and just gets out of the car and starts walking, and Rachel's just looking around like.
Jenny gives Rach like a 5-minute window. You've got me for 5 minutes. After that, I'm
gone. Yeah, going back to this movie though, there is some beautiful hair in this movie, isn't it? Oh, Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe's a beautiful man. Whether he looks like me or not, he's a beautiful man.
He is a good-looking guy, yeah.
That lovemaking scene is pretty special. I know Ev's got some issues with it, but
do you know you wouldn't have thought though, watching from this film, that Patrick Swayze would be the one to turn into the demigod.
Yeah. Well, it was more or less his next film that made him what he is, which was Dirty Dancing.
But in this one, yeah, he's a good-looking boy, but he's not as good-looking as Rob Lowe in this film. But then when you get to Dirty Dancing, he's on another level then, isn't he? But I think that's something to do with the fact that it's all to
he tightens up the head, doesn't he?
For a lot of women, it's to do with movement as well, isn't it?
Well, we'll talk about it now, actually. So obviously this is an ice hockey film. So Rob Lowe had to learn to to skate. What's his name? Patrick Swayze wasn't an ice skate. Oh, right. He was an ice skater. He was a figure dancer, I think. But he didn't play ice hockey at all. Keanu Reeves supposedly was a very, very good goalie. And Rob Lowe actually thought that he was a professional ice hockey player brought in for the role rather than an actor.
Although you couldn't tell it from the film. He's absolute rubbish in the film. I think he makes one scene.
There's a few in there that are absolutely rubbish. But I was thinking about this because Keanu Reeves is often, people say that he's a hell of an athlete. When he did The Replacements, they said, he's the sort of guy who could have gone pro. And I think he had the opportunity to trial out with someone, didn't he, at some point?
I think he played American football in college. Or had some experience of American football in college. So.
Oh, and the other thing is, I just want to go back to something Evan said earlier. You said that you've seen the cover of this movie before. Which cover have you seen? Is it the one that's hand drawn? It looks like a bit like an aha video.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone Google it now themselves, that Youngblood cover, have a look at Patrick Swayze and tell me that he isn't the spitting image of the lead singer of Aha. Is his name Morton something?
Morton Harkett, I think.
But not only does it look like Aha video, it looks like the Four Presidents.
Yeah, it does look like it looks like Mount Rushmore, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's funny though. I until this podcast, I'd never seen that cover before. The one that I'd seen, I think, is Rob Lowe's face is on it, but like a photo of it, not a drawing.
Yeah. So, what was everyone's favorite aspects of this one? Is it favorite aspects first or favorite scenes first?
Oh, Adam's pushing this on, isn't
he? He's flying for it.
I just like what do we? It's a tough one to talk about. This one is though, because like I'm not as. Obviously, last week we did one of the worst films ever made, and this week it's not much to go off after this one now.
This is a funny movie, right? Because and this is, again, it's all my personal view. I do think there's aspects of this film which could be good and are enjoyable. But let's be honest, it's not executed great, is it?
Okay, I'll give you my favorite aspect. And I'm setting this as if I was watching this when I was 15 years old, which is when I would have been primed for this film, and it's Cynthia Gibb.
She's a very good looking lady.
I'm telling you now, right? If I was 15 years old watching this film, I would have had a massive crush on her. She is absolutely my film type. She is the girl next door.
What about Miss McGill?
Well, that's
Miss McGill.
That's for me now, that is.
Miss McGill going up the stairs when he first meets her, and he looks up and she's in like those tiny little pants. I did have to sort of like take a double look to think, did she just have a bum double, an arse double? Because how old is Miss McGill in this film, do you reckon? 50s?
I think she's supposed to be like mid to late 50s, right? Let's see how old she was in real life in this film.
Because she's got a hell of a bum on her.
She's 45 in the film.
No.
How old is she in the film?
45.
But sorry, in real life she's 45. I don't know how old her character is supposed to be. Sorry.
Yeah, her character's also older because they have like with teapots and stuff, But that was a moment in the film when I was like, did I just see that? Do you know what I mean?
And then when it pans to him, is it him on top of her or her on top of him? I think it is. Yeah, it's just like
neither. They don't really show it. They just show the teapots kind of shaking
on the bed.
You know what? That's the thing with this film. Right? This is one of my favorite aspects. I loved how much of this film felt like the opening to a porno. Like another bit where like they sat on the bed together. We've all seen so many pornos that start with like that. But I was like, oh, this is like a porno. But then it doesn't go that way. There's loads of scenes in this film which start off as a porno, but then they go the other way. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's some scenes.
I don't know what you're on about, God.
There's some
seen
scenes,
a porno.
I'm on about the famous stepmother genre is what I'm on about, by the way. But I tell you, a scene which goes full throttle porn though is the making love by the fire scene, which we'll come on to a bit later because I know someone else wants to bring that bit up. But
yeah, it's my favorite aspect. Favorite aspect, favorite scene, and I'd recommend it.
You know, that sweat drenched love making scene.
They need to turn that fire down a bit, don't they?
I don't think they could turn it down. Would it a wood fire?
Like a furnace, just like.
Why did they put the mattress on the floor? Was it because the bed was squeaky?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
And it was because Rob Lowe was going to power bang that girl. He had to go all in. He didn't want to wake the street up with those creaks, so the mattress had to go on the floor.
Thing is, when you think about it, right, he dusted the cobwebs off with what's her name?
Cynthia
Miss
Gibb.
McGill.
Or Miss McGill. Yeah.
Yeah, he dusted the cobwebs off with Miss McGill, and then he was ready to go for Jessie then, wasn't he?
I reckon. Do you reckon he's 17 years old? Do you reckon he's a virgin?
Yeah.
He's a
shagger.
17-year-old boy who's a bit of a hick, lives on a farm. Yeah.
No, he's a. The film kind of makes clear straight away that he's a shagger. You just know he is. He's probably popped his cherry when he was about 10. he's straight in on Miss McGill.
Miss McGill's probably the best he's ever had, though.
I don't think he had an option with Miss McGill.
He did, but she fell under his spell. But
we all would have done. We all would have
Team
done it
cake.
at 17.
Yeah.
Led upstairs.
thing is, Miss McGill though, she's got a life, haven't she? She's just getting banged by every hockey player in that. She's just
There's that line, isn't it? Like, oh, I had it last night. And the other guy goes, I had it last year. And the other guy goes, I had it last night.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not stirring the porridge. But like, if she's having that many, if she's having that many hockey players, it probably is like chucking a hot dog down a corridor at that point, isn't it? Because now they're all out to man, Miss McGill. Like,
but to be fair though,
you say they're all at her. She is in the power position. She is the one instigating it all.
I know. I'm not saying she's not. I'm just saying, like, it's just, wizard sleeve in it. So I'm going to say.
And she, no. But then she's wizard sleeve. To be fair, she's having relations with some handsome dudes. Like you got Keanu Reeves, Rob Lowe. I'm sure Patrick Swayze has been in there at some point before he got his own place.
In there.
You know the worst thing about the scene with Miss McGill, right? So Rob Lowe, he goes to the house, he gets introduced to her, she walks up the stairs, he sees her bum, brilliant. The next scene after that, he wakes up, he's got his boots on his bed. That wound me up straight away. He's got a chicken drumstick in his hand while lying on the bed. And I was just like, you dirty bugger. And then he gets up and he puts the drumstick on the bed clothes while he goes to answer the door. I was fuming. This should be talked about in changes, but I'm going to do it now. I was fuming. It's like, get your shoes off and stop eating chicken drumsticks in your bedroom.
Yeah, but remember, but he grew up on a farm.
Oh, the bloody hick. Come on.
Hey, you haven't got no etiquette, have you?
Probably when he probably in a suitcase, man.
And then he has sex with her on that bed where that drumstick had been. Greasy.
Doesn't wash his hands either.
No, exactly.
I will say though, like the sex scene, that sex scene, which is my favorite aspect, the him and Cynthia McGill later on, you can smell that sex scene, as in like the sweat going on in that scene is just unreal. I was like, I had to have a shower after that scene because I was just like, it was so stinking, like, you know what I mean? Bad, but great, but little
bit of insight there into Adam's love life.
I know, yeah.
She has got a fantastic bum. When he grabs her.
That was her. I thought that was Rob Lowe's bum.
No, it's her bum.
I thought that was her grabbing Rob Lowe.
If it's Rob Lowe's bum,
he's
got a fantastic
ass in him anyway, isn't he?
Yeah, it was. Hey, there's 100% hers.
Him and Cynthia McGill had the same figure. It was really weird. It was like watching two twins lesing off in some shots.
Cynthia Gibb.
Oh yeah, Cynthia Gibb. So I gave Miss McGill and him
combining his two fantasies, yeah. he's wishing he was Rob Lowe, and when Mrs. McGill came in,
Adam's wishing that love-making scene between Cynthia Gibb and Rob Lowe, Mrs. McGill actually joined it. That's what he wanted.
That's the other thing as well. When I keep saying things like this, it's like a porno. Her coming in with the tea and stuff, and like the kinky sort of nightgown and stuff. It just, you think it's going to go one way. I think it's because the modern world has damaged us so much. But yeah, just goes the other way then, doesn't it?
I can't believe as well, right? Going on from there, I got to mention this. She knows what's going on when she brings up those, like, you know, tea cake, currant bun type things in a teapot. She knows what's going on, but yes, she doesn't even knock the door. She just walks in.
She was going up for herself.
Oh, I know that, yeah, but you could hear what was going on anyway. You could hear he was busy.
No, they put the mattress on the floor. He doesn't know.
She couldn't hear what was going on in the kitchen. It's only when she got to the top of the stage did she understand something was happening. And by that time, she'd already prepared tea on the understanding that she was just going to go in there and have her way with him again.
But she doesn't even knock the door when she realizes someone else is there.
I just can't get over she's 45.
Yeah, but in all fairness, Evan, this is a sexual situation, and you don't knock when the situation's sexual and all that sort of stuff in it. So it goes, isn't it?
Maybe she did know, and she was hoping she'd get invited in.
These were sexual circumstances.
She stood there long enough looking, so she was like, "Are you going to invite me in?" No.
Yeah.
But who knows?
I could be honest with you. Do you reckon if he went like that, if Dean Youngblood went like that, she would have like popped in there?
Oh, 100%.
I don't know what the young bird would have thought about that, but who knows? Innit? I love how we've just zoned in on these two aspects.
Can I just say, in that situation, you 100% have to allow the girl you're with to ask the other person to come in. It can't be you.
Does that mean then if it was another man, that you as the man would be invited to invite the other person in? So,
sorry, say that again. Break that down.
I confused myself on that, to be honest.
What he meant, I know what he meant. I know what he meant. He meant, but say now if you were banging someone prog and a bloke walked past your bedroom door, you would be allowed to go like that to the bloke. Because
I'm saying, because you said the woman has to be the one inviting the other woman in. Yeah.
No, it's always going to be the woman's choice.
That's the gentleman in you, that is, bro.
Yeah.
The porno gentleman.
Porno gentleman, yeah.
But would you always oblige though, prog?
If it's a man, God no.
No.
What do I want another man in my room for?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the one on about this, prog.
God help you with the editing on this episode now.
No, there's no editing anymore. I've given up on that. I just take out F-bombs. That's all.
It all goes in now. Okay.
Well, beep. There's one.
Not that one.
Oh, come on. If no one's got any other favourite aspects,
I haven't even got mine yet.
Oh, come on. I didn't think anyone had any.
Yeah, I've got the actual hockey scenes. I thought they're filmed quite really well.
Oh, we're gonna disagree on this, I think, Ev, because it's one of my changes.
I thought that.
Well, actually, I think one of my changes, and I'll mention it now because it's not so much the way that they're shot. I just think there should have been more hockey. I think the first half of the film is quite slow, and I thought that there should have been a little bit more about that.
Do you think what the film needed or was lacking was a montage showing how they were going through games and how Rob Lowe's character was developing a relationship with Patrick Swayze on the ice? Because they only showed one or two instances.
Let's talk about this now, then, right? Okay, I don't mind jumping in, right? It only seems like there's 3, possibly 4 teams in the league because that's all they play. There's only one bloody referee. He seems to do every game.
Yeah.
Shannon or whatever his name is. There's only like 3 fecking teams in the league. It's just like, They could have made that more. They could have done it like The Replacements, or they could have maybe The Replacements a bad one. But you would have seen a few more teams. You would have seen Prog's 100% right. The relationship of Youngblood within the team itself and him growing as a player. The only person who ever scores a goal is Youngblood, I think. I don't think anyone else does. And so from that aspect, you could have had so much more. You went from having this rookie who was hazed like horribly. He gets his pubes shaved off, and they're just really horrible to him.
What's the difference between hazing and an initiation?
Well, I think it's just a different word. I think same shit. I think.
No, I think initiation is like an initiation is it can be more gentle and friendly. So, for example, an initiation could be we're all going to go out and get steaming tonight, but a hazing is usually like you're going to get steaming and you're going to do a ton of as well. I think
tell Adam's never done sport in uni, can't you?
Yeah, but I've always that's how I've always took it. I've always took if it's a hazing, that's where the
I always took it. An initiation is something happens. You have to do something in order to be accepted by the rest of the team.
You have to do something that you don't want to do. That's the point of an initiation.
Yeah. But I'm saying initiation is a bit more innocent, so it could be something like, you have to like do something a bit, simple. But a hazing just always suggests brutality.
I was going to bring this up in potential changes, but I'll bring it up now. That initiation that with the ball shaving, is it that is really as bad as what they make it out? Because people pay money for that sort of thing now. Well, they do, don't they? Is it, you can get like, I don't know, what's that more? I don't know, Manscaped or whatever. They pay like 60, 70 quid for.
Yeah, but you got to remember this was the 80s. It was all about hair.
But what happened? Can I just ask though? What happens if like you say no to the initiation? Do you just get kicked off the team?
I don't think you get kicked off the team. Not at that level, anyway.
I don't think anyone ever said no, did they?
Well, the fact he was ultimately being held down by 8 other guys.
Yeah.
And if someone's got a raise in here, you were private players.
Personally, I would hate what happened to Rob Lowe to happen to me. But once they got the razor out and it's an inch away, I ain't moving.
No.
Ev, did you have another aspect?
Yeah, it was only a quick one. The double denim from Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff.
Can I just say though as well, I being in all serious, I do have some favorite aspects of it. Surprisingly, I didn't think this film was that bad. I have got changes to go on to, but it wasn't as like, it was just an easy, what I liked about it, I quite liked aspects of the script. I know a lot of it's quite heavy-handed and cheesy. I know that, but like it has got some really nice interplay with the characters. There's some nice chemistry going on in the sort of hangout scenes. And I was never bored by it. I quite liked watching. I know they can be arseholes sometimes, the youngsters can, but they're hockey players, isn't they? That's how they are, like, and they're only like 17 and stuff. But I thought the film had some strengths to it. I thought it was like I know why its biggest problem is that it's just very forgettable. That's the problem it has.
Yeah.
It's like I forgot I watched it like 5 minutes after it finished, but while I was watching it, I didn't mind it that much. You know what I mean? But
but Miss McGill will be with you forever and ever, won't she?
Oh yeah, those cheeks are never going to go out of my mind. But Miss McGill having her cheeks busted, that's what it's all about, isn't it? But yeah, that's my favorite aspect.
I've got one aspect I want to talk about, which I've got a love-hate relationship with it, and that's the score. I don't know if you know, but the score is by William Orbit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So of 90s fame.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So
Dan remix, didn't he?
Yeah, there are parts of the score, and the score is a bit funny because it's a little bit all over the place at times as regards to the different genres, let's put it that way. But he is very 80s heavy in this, and he at times it sounds very similar to Big Trouble in Little China, only on a couple of scenes. But yeah, let's just say, and I love a bit of Big Trouble. So yeah, but it is a little bit all over the place as well. But it's got a bit of an 80s synth feel to it at times. Let's put it that way.
He also did he also did some music for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah, number 2.
never
I was
knew-
going to bring that up. Yeah,
I never knew he did film scores until tonight, which is
he
really
hasn't.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't think he's done many.
Another favorite aspect in this gives a good shout out to Slumber Party Massacre. Good slasher movie from a very good feminist slasher movie from the 80s, which never gets talked about. So he gets points from me for that as well. Slumber Party Massacre. And hey, if you want to see some 80s boobs, and that is the film for you.
Why
That
you
film
nominate it at the end of the podcast, Dad?
Maybe I will. Maybe I will.
He's going to use his two choices both as Slumber Party Massacre.
There is a sequel. There is a sequel to it.
Can we pick the same film twice to give ourselves double the odds?
Well, I might just start picking films that we've already seen that I quite enjoy talking about, so I can just watch them again and again.
If that means I can pick bingo again, by all means, just do it.
No, nothing that we've done on the podcast already.
That's that one's been relegated forever and ever. Right, okay, come on, let's move on to favorite scenes and let's try and go through these quickly because I think we're already 40 minutes into a podcast here.
Favorite scene for me, not my favorite scene, but a scene which stood out to me. I did quite like the end scene. I don't know why, but the bit when like Rob Lowe is like after he's knocked out. What's that guy's name?
Rocky.
Rocky. Yeah.
After he knocks out Rocky after the game's over and he's had all the glory, when he's on the ice and those kids come up and they're all like he's signing the autographs and stuff. I it's a pretty good scene. Thought that was a nice little way to end the movie. Also, you said this film was like Top Gun on ice. And I was a bit like, this film's got a bit of everything in there. It's got a bit of Top Gun. It's got a bit of Rocky in there. It had a bit of like, it was just like loads of random films just kind of plopped together in one in some parts. But
I agree. Yeah. They're trying to do something with the film by taking all these different aspects from various films. It's just, unfortunately, it's probably trying to do too much in one film and just try to get something right.
But I didn't think the film was like ever juggling different things. I didn't think it had too. My problem was it didn't have enough going on for it because I just thought it was a bit too thin. Like, you know what I mean? I was a bit like, it was one of those, and that's why it wasn't that memorable for me because I was a bit like, well, that was all right.
I'll tell you what was going on with this film. There were too many strands in terms of drama strands. So you had, in terms of Rob Lowe's character, you have the fledgling relationship with Jessie as a girlfriend, but you also have a relationship with Patrick Swayze's character Sutton. You've got this, at odds relationship with the coach. Then you've got Rob Lowe's sort of background where he comes from the farm and something's going on with his father and the brother. They're not in it enough for that plot strand to take effect. So what I found with the film was they almost couldn't decide what was the primary plot to go with, and they ended up having like 4 or 5 different ones, and they were trying to weave all of these in together. And there was some good stuff with all of them, because I think one of my favorite scenes was actually the scene with his father when he goes home and his father starts training him. What I liked about that scene was you had his father say one sentence and explained everything about why he didn't want Rob Lowe playing hockey and that he didn't want another son of his to get hurt. And I was thinking to myself, in loads of other 80s films, and not just 80s films, but like loads of dramas and stuff, they would have over-egged that so much. They would have had the father giving like this massive speech, 4 pages worth of dialogue, and he just said one line and you understood everything about his character. I just wish there was more to do with the father.
Do you know why that might... one of the reasons that might not be the case is because the guy who plays him isn't an actor. He's an ex-hockey player. Yeah, he's an ex-hockey player. So I don't know. Maybe he did train to become an actor afterwards as well. Hang on a minute. But I think the guy who plays his brother is
is the hockey player.
No,
isn't he?
the dad is definitely as well.
Okay.
That's what I read. I could be totally wrong on that.
No. If you've read that, that's
Yeah.
fine. Man.
I get my sources from the internet. God knows.
I just remember this as well. Big, massive shout out. My biggest laugh of the movie, because this bit was just stupid but great at the same time. Outstanding scene was when obviously what's it chops? Jessie, is it? Is that girl he's dating? She's trying to make out she doesn't really like hockey. Then they go back to like her house and she's all like, they see that photo of her dad playing hockey, and then she's like, I was there too. And it's like this. She's just in the background as a little girl. I can't really put into words why that's so corny here, but I killed me that bit did because it was so man. That bit was so manufactured for the movie and so corny. To the viewers who weren't listening, Andrew just got kicked out of this, but you didn't storm off because I made fun of that photograph scene, did you?
Yeah, I thought you were going to take out the photoshopping in it, and I was fuming.
Yeah, I realized that I could see your lip quivering when I was saying about it. And I was like, oh, you must have really hit like that bit. But sorry, but that was my favorite aspects, anyways, or favorite scenes, even. So we can carry on now.
Ev, what have you got for favorite scene?
I got a couple like Prague. I had the scene with his dad, and I quite liked the scene with him and Swayze in the locker room. I thought it was a little emotional moment. I thought it was quite good, especially how they went. They had like the facial expressions of was it the physio behind? Is it the physio, the assistant, who's like, you can tell he's like choked up because he's going. But I got to give a shout out to the brawl. That's just in Thunder Bay, is it? Oh, it just takes me back to like rugby, Colts rugby days. Great.
One in, all in, isn't it?
It's brutal, though, isn't it? Does that really happen?
They used to.
Because my experience of ice hockey, and especially when I first watched this, I'm thinking when I was like a 12-year-old boy watching this for the first time, was Blades of Steel on the NES. That was like the only ice hockey I ever sort of knew back then. And in that game,
who had 1 hour 10? Who had 1 hour 10 in the pool?
But like, yeah, so you could fight in that game, and it was like, gloves off fighting. In this, they're like proper fighting with sticks as well. And there's that one scene in there where the guy takes his entire like top teeth out and puts it in the girl's Bloody Mary, and it's brutal.
Yeah, but they're almost like scars of war, aren't they? For ice hockey players, they're different breed. It's like any sport you play. They have a different mentality to someone else, don't they? For various reasons. Like it's often like people will say rugby league players are quote unquote the hardest sort of sportsman because of the toll and the impact that the hits will have. And then you look at something like ice hockey, and you've got to be almost nuts to be playing that because people are swinging at you with the sticks. And
I'd be wearing a mask like a bloody keeper.
They do. No, I'm obviously I just heard this before in passing, but because I have some friends that really like ice hockey, but I don't know anything about sports, so take that as you will. But apparently the reason they fight in ice hockey is because it's a requirement of the game is to fight, which is why they have a goon on the team sometimes as well. Is because it gets out the aggression, because like this is such a I guess it's such an intense game and stuff anyway, but like the fighting's actually encouraged just to get it all out of your system right then and there and just continue on. So
has anyone ever been?
I don't know what the rules are like in the last few years. I mean, there's every chance that they might have changed the rules somewhat. Maybe we should have looked into that, but
my sister, my brother-in-law, and my nieces, they're season ticket holders for Cardiff Devils, and they go regularly. My mate and his family are as well, and basically the referees don't stop the fights unless a player goes down on the ice. Yeah. So if you're up and you're grabbing hold of the shirt and you're just swinging away, that's fair game for that.
What I didn't get, they were fighting. And like obviously the keepers have still got their masks on. They're punching like the keepers, or they got their helmets on, and they're still trying to punch them with bloody helmets on. It's just like, surely that hurts.
It's the aggression.
But you know as well as I do, when there's a brawl going, you're not stopping to think that much.
You just go in swinging arms.
Yeah.
I went to watch an ice hockey game in Italy. I went skiing in North Italy. And two of the people that we went with were Cardiff Devil supporters. I've just mentioned the team there. And they said, look, there's a local team, let's go and watch it. So we went and watched this ice hockey game. It was boring as hell. And two reasons. One, it was like 1-0 or maybe even 0-0. Can a game be 0-0 or do they always have to go into overtime? And I don't know. Plus, I didn't take my glasses. Couldn't bloody see a thing in the sense of I didn't know where the puck was. Didn't have a clue.
So really, your comments are null and void.
No, they are there.
It's written off. Just wrote off the entire sport of hockey for this one game.
So I could see the players. I just couldn't see where the puck was. And even if I had my glasses, I'm not entirely sure I can see it because they move so quick.
I was going to say, I'm just. Oh, sorry. I'm just imagine you just sitting down, going to Rachel. Where's the puck, Rach? I can't see.
Also, it was bloody cold. Even though I was wrapped up, I was on this tiny little bench, freezing my nuts off watching this. I don't know what can only be described as the Aberdeen Ice Hockey League in Italy.
I get asked to go to hockey games quite often because I got a couple of mates that really like it, and they're always like, "Oh, you should come along sometime. You should come along." And I always just put it off. I'm always like, "Yeah, maybe one day." But I don't do sports, man. I just can't enjoy it at all. But weirdly, I don't mind a good sports film. So this, like Rocky, I watched Air the other night. I really like. That's not really a sports film, but you know what I mean. But I love a good sports film. I always dread them as well. Before I watch this, I was like, oh, I can't be fudging bummed to watch this. I said to myself because it's about hockey and stuff. But when I checked it on, I was like, oh, it's not that bad actually. It's quite entertaining. But then,
in fairness, though, lad, you did get into the Euros 2020. Sorry, didn't it?
That's because I had money riding on it. I was a kid. It was the financial incentive.
Also, it was lockdown, so you were bored out your skull whenever.
Yeah, but it's weird though because films like Raging Bull and stuff. But obviously, it's because if you think about it, there's so much drama going on and good acting and stuff in them anyway. But that's how it goes. But then I'll try and watch. Sometimes I've tried to watch the sport after the film, and I'm like, nah, it was just the movie I liked.
Especially when Hollywood sort of glamorizes a sport. I tell you a really good example of when a sports film doesn't do the film justice, and that's what's the rugby film, Ev? Is it Forever Strong?
Oh.
Is it that? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shocking representation of a sport. Yeah.
Can I just say though,
do that.
that European sports don't lend themselves to films. American sports are really good. And I think it's all to do with the stop-start nature of American sports. Yeah, you've always got timeouts, there's periods, this, that, and the other.
There's only one football film I can think of which I really liked. And I mean, I mean our football now, not American football.
Soccer.
Yeah.
Go on, I think you were to say then. And
is it Shaolin Monk or whatever?
Shaolin Soccer.
Oh,
that is incredible. That film is, and that is probably going to be one of my choices because we're just talking about it now. Great
victory.
I only guessed that because it's got an element of anime about it.
No, it's not. It's full on kung fu. But I'm telling you right now, right? There's no way you guys wouldn't enjoy that film because I put that on thinking this is going to be crap. No, such a good film and really funny. And just the stunts are awesome in it as well. It's just a really good comedy kung fu sports film. But
you're forgetting the Oscar winner that is Goal. You know, the Santiago Muñoz story.
I've never seen that one.
He's only saying it because Newcastle are involved in it.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
come on, Ev, man, bloody hell.
Does Football Factory count?
No.
Oh, if you're going to do
That's
that,
a film.
You got ID. The 80s football hooligan film.
What's the other one? The Firm?
The Firm, yeah.
No, isn't it one like Green Streets or something?
Mean Street.
Is it Mean Streets?
Green Street with
green
Frodo.
screen.
Oh yeah, Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah, I'm supposed to believe that Frodo's a bloody hooligan.
Any Dream Team viewers in this podcast right now? Remember that on Sky One back in the day? Bit of Dream Team.
You were guaranteed
Was
a
it
bit of
hot?
boobage in that, weren't you?
Was it? Was it boobs in
Yeah.
Dream Team?
Yeah, early series of that, wasn't it? Oh no, or my
You were like
Footballers' Wives, I think you're thinking of.
Footballers'
That's
Wives,
the
I'm
one.
thinking.
Yeah.
Andrew. You are like a boob encyclopedia. I gotta give it
Oh
to you.
yeah.
That film has boobs, and you're like, oh, boobs. Let's go boobs.
Oh yeah, I'm a proper like
It's always your go-to on stuff. Like, oh,
boobage
guaranteed boobs
aficionado.
now. If you go
Right,
to
come
series
on.
2, episode 4, there's some good boobs.
We're going on to changes. I don't care if anyone's got any other scenes. We're going on to changes. And I'm going to start and I'm going to reel this off. At times, there's too much forced humor. This film doesn't know if it wants to be a comedy or not. There's too many like with and something happens. It's probably too long. There's not enough game time for me. The story's a bit weak. Prog's mentioned this. It sometimes doesn't know what his main sort of story going through is. The dramatic scenes are just a bit too empty at times. It needs more backstory for a couple of other characters. Or in some of those other characters that they have around, it just needed a little bit more for them. And again, I go back to the replacements. There's about 4 or 5 different side characters, and they've got substance to them, which it makes that feel more like a team sport. And I have an issue with that Patrick Swayze and Rob Lowe are like enemies at the very beginning, and then there's not a turning point for me that they become friends, other than Rob Lowe passes him the puck.
I always thought they were friends pretty much from the start. I always thought it was just a bit of banter at the beginning. That's so.
For me, it wasn't. It was like I just felt, Patrick Swayze was like, "Whoa, it's the new guy. I hate him." And then he passes him the puck, and they score a goal, and woo, best friends. Takes his stitches out.
Works, but
then a couple of other things. It hasn't got a good enough 80s training montage. It needs a better one. You've got that bit where he's training when he's back home at the farm, but needs more.
The opening title sequence, maybe,
with the kids on the ice where they were like an old school film.
The old video. Yeah.
No, I like that bit, but I mean the credit sequence when it's just him training on the ice.
The very opening.
Yeah, that cinematic dark background.
Yeah.
Kind of really, because I was laughing a bit at that, but I was like, oh, here we go. But it didn't go. I was like, here we go. This is going to be some 80s cheese right now.
I'm going to echo Andrew on the montage, but I've already said it. It needs a montage halfway through the film to show how many games they play in, where they are in the season, and also extend the relationship between Youngblood and Sutton. It has to have it.
It's got to be a montage.
And then the final thing.
How can you have an 80s sport film and not have a montage?
Yeah, no, exactly. It was prime for it. Prime.
And it's forgotten film. As a result, it's a completely forgotten movie.
The final thing for me then is at the beginning, his dad is saying, like, I don't want you to go and play hockey. Who's going to help me out on the farm? Blah, blah, blah. And he says, oh, you could employ, an extra hand to help you. And he's, where are we going to get the money from? Sell some of the bloody cars you got around that farm. Because when they pan the farm, you've got about 20 relics of cars. Just bring in one of those Discovery Channel programs and sell them their barn car.
20 years too early, but
too early.
He was ahead of his time.
Ahead of his time, yeah.
I agree. I agree with almost everything you said there, and I'm going to highlight one scene in particular that killed me, and it's the argument between Youngblood and Jesse when he wants to get revenge on Raki. That scene, for the most part, I think the dialogue is actually decent. Like, it's not over the top or too over dramatic, but that scene is, oh my god, how many rolls of cheese do you want with your bread?
Yeah.
What if it was you? What if it was you?
I agree with that. I highly agree with the fact it's too long as well, and that's why and that brings in your montage thing. it needed about 20 minutes lobbed out with this film. It was an hour and 50s. No way should this film be that long.
For me, it needed about an hour's worth of
Montage.
Cynthia Gibb and Mrs. McGill, and then a training montage, end of film, bang.
Yeah.
I would have been happy with a scene of Miss McGill and Cynthia just comparing notes.
Yeah.
That's Cynthia must have known Mrs. McGill's had a bit of him.
So I just say as well, Americans can't make TV. If any American listeners listening right now, sort out your tea making, because that's he. I was fine with it up until she started chucking wedges of lemon in her teapot. I was like, what's going on with that? Get out of there. It's not put milk in the tea either. Yanks cannot make tea. Sorry, but that's the truth.
Right, come on, let's wrap this up. I in the sense of I've reeled off a pile of changes. What have other people got?
I've got a few. I don't like. I know it's got to be in there, but I don't like the lads culture. It's just. I
don't mind. Boring. I don't mind that so much because I think that place. I thought that was one of the strengths of it because at first I was a bit like, oh, they're a bit arseholes and they like throw in drinks around the pub. But I was like, yeah, but to be honest, they probably would be like that because they're 17-year-old hockey players. So I did think, and they haven't got any guardians with them. So I kind of like, I was a bit like, well, fair enough. It's not unrealistic, is it? You know?
Yeah, I suppose. What an idiot he is getting that nympho book from the paper shop or whatever, what an idiot. Like,
I could see what they were doing, but I agree. It was like, it wasn't, it goes back to Andrew's point. It wasn't that funny, was it? But I could see it was a setup for the dad, but it never went anywhere, you know?
Also, next one. Why does Thunder Bay have a massive mural of the Queen?
They all did
in their arena. Sorry.
Yeah, but they were still under the Commonwealth rule at that time, I think.
And I bet they'll have provinces which are like highly sort of like royalists, and then others which are probably wanted to be non-royalist.
Let's talk about that the better. What is it? Oh, loads of sweat in this film. Loads of sweat, and there's one game in particular where Youngblood's on the bench, done nothing for about 45 minutes. He comes on. And it's like bloody monsoon on his face. It's like he's just stepped out the shower, whacked his kit on, and then gone out. Hasn't even done anything.
Do you know what they should have called this film? Fire and Ice. Should have called it that. How more 80s does that sound? Because you got the sweat, the heat, and then you got the ice hockey, haven't you? Fire and ice hockey. Anyway, sorry.
Hockey in brackets.
Yeah. Youngblood's very moody in this film, isn't he? Proper moody teenager. It's like
17, Nev. He's just lost his virginity. Doesn't know.
I swear this part of the podcast is not changes. It's Evan's observations of the film.
Well,
I love him.
I just write me notes. I got notes here. I've got to write them all. Why don't they wear gum shields? Gum shields would have been invented by then. Why don't they wear gum shields?
I don't think most of them bloody got their teeth. They've already lost them. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. They should have.
Yeah. That ice for the arenas, it's got enough snow on it to build a snowman. No one, whoever's working the Zamboni, Cynthia Gibb, she wants sacking. She's not doing a good enough job.
She's too busy boning, isn't she?
God, he does run faster, doesn't he, on that one bit? No one pretends to go under the snow thing. How fast does he get that boot off and run around the other side behind it? I was thinking about that for about an hour after it happened. I was going, God, he must have like planned that hours in advance and just like
being honest, like
practice.
Just snow ice. And right, last one, and I'm going to talk about now the sex scene between Cynthia Gibb and Rob Lowe, or Youngblood and Jesse.
It's amazing.
They're supposed to be 17, right? So how old is she? Supposed to be 17, or is she younger because she's still in school?
No, I say they're both the same age.
Yeah, I think they're both. I think he's like a high school dropout, isn't he?
Well, the thing is, it wasn't implied either way, was it? So,
but do you think it's touching on inappropriateness slightly because they're quite young and having nudity of young people in sex scene? Or
if they had made the film today, I think they would have aged him up a bit to like 20 or 19 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel as
it's
if
like-
it's on the parade here because everyone.
No,
is,
no.
you know-
Well, no. But the main thing is the actors were of age, weren't they?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like Cynthia Gibb was about 26 in this film,
yeah.
you know. So no, she was 23. Sorry, I just looked it up. She was about 23, so it's okay. You know, you could, but yeah, I get what you mean.
Relax, Ev. The police aren't coming for you.
Yeah,
Hey, he's not coming for me. They'll be knocking on your doors. Like, this is in my
Oh.
changes. It wasn't my favorite aspect. Like someone else on this.
I,
cast.
I enjoyed the scene of with her shiny areolas.
look, we have our 80s boob expert was on that scene. Like that's why he picked the film.
I can give it
What's
a tick
that?
for appropriateness.
Andrew had no one of those diamond inspectors
Yeah.
that you look through. He had one of them up to the screen.
Oh, I can imagine there's Andrew just doing a whoa when 80s boob comes on, like a full-on one of them.
Pausing it and going frame by frame.
Yeah.
I did because I forgot that scene was as good as it is, and I did a whoa, what's going on here sort of moment.
Yeah.
Might have to rewind that.
Like, did you forget about that? But you've got like a photographic memory for 80s boobs.
It's the reason he dominated the film.
A
mean, you
boobage photographic memory.
No, when you were a
Yeah.
kid, and I bet you were the guy that you could get the remote control for the video player, press fast forward, and stop on the exact moment it happened on the frame. This was happening as well. You'd be like that.
I tell you what
even-
changed my life is when I had a video recorder that did freeze frame. Do you ever have that where you could fast forward it, but it literally would do a frame by frame?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Oh, your life would have been your life would have been eternal then, wouldn't it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Right, come on. Final question then. Would you recommend? Ev?
Yeah, I think it's worth one watch, but not watching for 30 odd years after it. It's all right.
Frog?
I wouldn't. That's not to say I think it's a bad film. I think it's okay, but I think it's absolutely bang average. Therefore, I wouldn't recommend it because I think there's a lot of better films in the same genre or style.
Mighty Ducks.
Well, no, I'm actually gonna nominate one later
Right.
that I think is.
Ad?
I would, yeah, but to certain people, like for example, someone like my nan would really like this film. I know she. I just, you know what I mean, like someone who likes a really hallmarky kind of.
I've heard your nan is the Miss McGill of Ebervale.
Hey, less said about that, the better. But I could just I just know people that would enjoy this film, and but I would also have to remember the film because I don't think I'll think about this film if we weren't doing the podcast for this. I never would have watched it, and I'll probably won't think about this film ever again after we finish recording this episode.
Is that the nan the RoboCop nan?
It is the RoboCop nan, yeah.
She is a cyborg.
Is it the nan that I came with you
Yeah.
and over her flat and she offered me tea?
Yeah, that's my nan. That's my nan. Well, that's my only nan I got. She's my only grandparent, so yeah, that is my nan. My other nan passed away,
right.
sadly.
I would recommend, but similar to Adam, probably only to certain people who.
Yeah.
And if someone said to me, "I want a bit of a cheesy '80s film," I'd be like, "I've got it for you."
If someone was, go on, sorry.
Oh well, go on. You may. I was just about to wrap up.
If sports films are being discussed, I'd bring it up.
Right, it had a budget of 8 million. It had a box office of 15.4, so probably not a success in the sense of the amount of money it brought back. But hey ho. Right, at this stage, we will pick next week's podcast or next week's movie for us to discuss on the podcast. Ad, I'm going to hand over to you again, if that's okay, as regards to
Share
the
my screen.
Yeah, I've given you permission.
Okay, so I'm gonna. I know that we all know the rules, but I'm gonna quickly rattle them off for our. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you see the little web tool thing?
Yeah.
Which screen?
Yeah.
There. I'm just confused, because I got two screens. Can you see
I can
the
see
screen?
mini. Yeah, I can see the one you're typing on at the moment. The one that's got the tab that says Dwarf girl porn or something, it says at the top.
Oh, well, okay, well, we're on the wrong screen then. That's what I was trying to hide. Yeah, so just for the people that don't listen to us every week in this part of the podcast, we all pick 2 films each, and we've got a couple of films. We got 2 films from our viewers, and we got 1 booby film, which is the shit film, which is always Mac and me. Well, until we pick that film. And Prog, what happens after that film gets picked?
Once that film's been picked and watched, we substitute it with another film. There's always going to be a booby film in there.
Okay.
And not the kind of booby film that Andrew wants.
Not a booby film, not a boobage film.
Yeah.
So our viewer films one was The Page Master.
And the other one was True Romance by Baron Leach.
Nice. Okay. And it was Aaron that gave us The Page Master. So let's go. I'm in an hour between 2 in my mind at the moment, but I'm gonna go start with Andrew. What's your 2 for this week?
Superman.
Yep.
Obviously the 70s version with Christopher Reeves, and Napoleon Dynamite.
Interesting.
Oh.
Interesting. Evan.
I'm going to go with The Paper.
He's still going for it. He's still holding on for The Paper.
But here's me curveball. Harry Crumb, he's gone for now. I'm going to bring in Mr. Mom.
So you just want to do a Keaton film then?
Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day, and I thought Mr. Mom, great.
Prog.
Spirited Away.
Oh my god. Yeah.
And my second film is going to be following on from what we've just watched, and it's going to be Hoosiers.
Hoosiers, the other sports film
with Gene Hackman.
Nice. Never seen it.
I'm gonna drop an anime in there this week as well, but it's completely unlike Spirited Away, and it's gonna be carrying on with our 80s boob fest, and I'm gonna go for Urotsuka Doji because I'm always bringing this one up. Legend of the Old Fiend.
Actually, I'm glad you were writing that, not me.
Yeah, trust me, Urotsuka Doji is like, we'll have fun discussing that one. Put it that way.
Is that on Netflix now, Ad? Or have I got to pay for that again?
I think it's on YouTube. I think you could probably find it on YouTube, but I've got it on DVD, so if I can lend it out and stuff anyway. But my second film is going to be. I just had it in my head. It's going to be. We were talking about it on the podcast just now. Screw it. I'm just going to go with my one last week, Gremlins 2. Okay, so
you're going to say Shaolin Soccer.
I was carrying on.
Why did you have to remind him?
Thanks, Evan. It was I just remembered it then. All right, so we're ready to press the button, guys, and see what we're watching next week.
I'm shaking now. I'm nervous.
I kind of hope it's not Urotsuka Doji now, because I feel like it's going to damage us all a little bit. But come
on, Mr. Mom.
Oh, hey, Mac and me.
Yay! Well, we'll reveal what the next film is going to be next podcast, I guess, and see you all next week, guys, with Mac and me.
Cheers, all.
Prog looks like he's crying with joy there.